You're going to be so happy that you ended up here today, because I'm about to take you through some of the strangest stories you'll ever hear, like how scientists now bottle the smell of human bones, or a newly designed smart toilet can actually identify you by your uniquely shaped butt. So, if you like being the smartest person in the room, I've got you covered. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 outrageous random facts to make you sound like a genius. 25. Thieves stole an 18-karat gold toilet from Churchill's Birthplace. Blenheim Palace has seen its fair share of unusual moments during its long history, but few compared to the morning a team of thieves ran through its gates to steal a toilet. Now, let me just say, this wasn't ordinary plumbing. It was an 18-karat gold artwork titled America, worth $6 million. The group broke a window, smashed a door, and ripped the toilet straight from its fittings. The entire operation lasted as long as a coffee break. Investigators later traced their movements through a trail of CCTV clips, fingerprints, and phone records. Several men were eventually convicted, including one who helped transfer the stolen gold after the heist. Prosecutors believe the toilet was melted down to hide the evidence, which explains why none of it ever resurfaced. 24. A scientist is bottling the smell of human bones. In Belgium, a scientist named Clement Martin is capturing the exact odor released by dried human bones, and he's doing it to help police locate remains in cold cases. Cadaver dogs already train on the scent of decomposing flesh, but that doesn't help once a body's been reduced to bone. Older bones release far fewer molecules, and their smell shifts depending on age and environment, which makes them difficult for even the best dogs to identify. Martin collects different bone samples, stores them in sealed containers, and extracts the scent the same way a perfumer would isolate the notes of a fragrance. Federal police trainers believe this could transform long-term searches, especially since Belgium maintains only 4 human remains dogs nationwide. Demonstrations have already shown that the dogs react to the bottled scent, so police departments may soon have a far more reliable tool for solving cold disappearances. 23. Florida held another round of the Florida Man Games. Only my home state of Florida could turn our state reputation into a full athletic event. The Florida Man Games returned for a second year in 2025, this time at the St. Johns County Fairgrounds, where teams from across the state showed up to compete for the title of World's Worst Superhero. Yeah, worst superhero. There was human beer pong, beer belly sumo wrestling, weaponized pool noodle fights, and even a hurricane party prep challenge set in a grocery aisle. There was also an all-female team called the Ball Busters. Oh, and did I mention there was a mechanical alligator for people who wanted in on the fun? According to the competitors, Florida Man athletes do not go through rigorous training because the whole point is to show up born ready. If that sounds like you, well, you know where to go in 2026. Come on down to Florida. Although I don't know if it counts if you don't live here. You can't be a Florida man or woman if you don't live here. 22. We found a cartwheeling snake. In 2023, a team of herpetologists from Malaysia and the United States confirmed that when the dwarf reed snake feels threatened, it coils itself into a loop, pushes off with its tail, and rolls away. Basically, just like a cartwheel. Researchers actually recorded one snake covering about 5 feet in less than 5 seconds. The rolling action serves 2 purposes. It propels the snake away from danger and startles predators, who seem caught off guard by the sudden spinning shape. Scientists now believe that other small snakes may use similar escape tactics, but most of them are difficult to observe because they avoid open spaces. So for the moment, it remains the most acrobatic escape artist in its corner of the reptile world. 21. A math student has discovered the ultimate swear word. And I'm sad to say, it's terribly boring. The student at King's College London fed a long list of existing expletives into a Markov chain, a model that predicts the probability of letters appearing in sequence, and waited to see what the code produced. According to the algorithm, the ideal swear word should start with a B and end with an ER, which led to two top contenders, Banger and Burr. Since the first one already carries its own bit of suggestive connotations, the project settled on Burr as the winner. The results didn't win many fans, including the creator herself, who admitted that it has nowhere near the power of everyone's favorite well-loved classic When You Stub Your Toe. 20. T-Rex probably had lips. A team of paleontologists is challenging one of the most famous dinosaur images in pop culture. They argue that the T-Rex probably had lips that covered its massive teeth, rather than the crocodile-style grin we see in movies. The evidence came from examining a tooth from a relative of T-Rex called Daspletosaurus. When researchers cut into the fossil, they found that its enamel showed far less wear than expected for a tooth exposed to open air. Modern crocodilians burn through thousands of teeth in a lifetime because they don't have lips, while a T-Rex took nearly 2 years to replace a single tooth. That alone suggests the dinosaur might have had some form of protective tissue. The team also compared skulls and tooth sizes for more than 20 theropods and several modern lizards and found that the teeth fit just fine behind the lips, just like a Komodo dragon's. 19. Scientists made woolly mice while trying to bring back mammoths. A biotech company trying to revive the woolly mammoth says it's taken a small but important step towards that goal by creating genetically modified woolly mice. The team at Colossal Biosciences has been comparing ancient mammoth DNA to Asian elephant DNA, hoping to eventually produce an elephant calf that can handle freezing temperatures. They changed several genes linked to hair color, length, and texture, including a couple found in mammoths. Some of the mice were born with thick, shaggy coats or golden fur that looked surprisingly mammoth-like. The team also altered a gene involved in fat metabolism, which might play a role in handling cold. The study has not been peer-reviewed yet, but the researchers say these early results show that their overall approach is moving in the right direction. 18. We turn dead spiders into robot claw machines. Rice University engineers have shown that even a dead spider can be turned into a functional piece of robotics. The idea came from how spiders use hydraulics to move. They extend their legs by pumping fluid into them, and when the pressure drops, the legs curl in. Researchers tapped into that system by gluing a small needle into the spider's body and connecting it to an air source. A short little puff of air was enough to open all 8 legs at once, creating a gripper that could pick up objects heavier than the spider itself. Tests showed that one spider handled more than 1,000 open-close cycles before its joints began to dry out. The team says a simple coating might help the dead spider parts last longer. They also see it being useful for picking up tiny pieces in electronics or grabbing small insects out in the field. 17. China has planted so many trees, it changed the country's water cycle. China has been planting trees and restoring grasslands on a scale the rest of the world can barely imagine, and scientists say those efforts have changed the country's entire water cycle. Between 2001 and 2020, forest growth in the eastern monsoon region and grassland recovery across the north increased evapotranspiration, which is the combined effort of water evaporating from land and moving through plants. That shift pulled more moisture into the atmosphere than before. The problem is that most of that water did not fall back where it started. Winds can carry moisture thousands of miles, and in this case, much of it ended up over the Tibetan Plateau. 16. Scientists regrew a frog's leg. Scientists at Tufts and Harvard found a way to help adult frogs regrow a lost leg, even though frogs normally can't do that. They used a small silicone cap called a biodome, filled with a 5-drug mix that was placed over the stump for just 24 hours. That short treatment kicked off a long regrowth process that lasted about 18 months, and eventually produced a somewhat functional limb with bone, nerves, blood vessels, and even some toes. Each drug had a job, from reducing inflammation to blocking scar tissue to helping new tissues form. They now want to see if a similar approach could be used to help mammals. 15. The oldest alphabet sentence ever was found on a lice comb. A small ivory comb dug up at Lice in Israel turned out to carry the oldest full sentence ever written in the world's first alphabet. The piece sat in storage for years before anyone noticed the faint engraving on its surface. When specialists finally examined it, they discovered a message that sounds like it could have been written by any tired parent. May this tusk root out the lice of the hair and the beard. The comb was a luxury item, carved from imported ivory at a time when no elephants lived in the region. One side held coarse teeth for grooming, and the other had fine teeth for hunting down lice. Researchers even found traces of tiny lice shells still embedded in it. The sentence was written in early Canaanite script, the alphabet that eventually gave rise to Greek, Latin, and most modern European languages. 14. The deepest fish on record lives over 8 kilometers underwater. A research team exploring deep-sea trenches near Japan filmed the deepest fish ever recorded. The tiny snailfish was spotted 8,336 meters underwater, which is about 27,350 feet. It showed up on footage from an unmanned lander sent into the Izu Ogasawara Trench, setting a depth record no other fish has ever reached. A few days later, the scientists caught 2 related snailfish at 8,022 meters, or about 26,350 feet, making them the first fish ever collected from below the 8,000 meter mark. Snailfish are unusual compared to the sharp-toothed deep-sea creatures people expect. They have soft bodies, no scales, and no swim bladders, which makes surviving high pressure a lot easier. Scientists have long suspected that the warm water in this trench would push the limits of how deep fish can go, and this find supports that theory. 13. A chess robot broke a 7-year-old's finger. A chess match at the 2022 Moscow Open took an unexpected turn when a robot opponent grabbed the finger of a 7-year-old player and broke it. The robot had just taken one of the boy's pieces, and the boy moved before the machine finished its program movement. The robotic arm then closed around his finger and held it for several seconds. Footage showed adults rushing in, prying the arm open and helping the boy away, but the fracture had already happened. The child, one of Moscow's top under-9 players, returned the next day with his finger in a cast and finished the tournament with volunteers noting down his moves. Officials said the robot had played many exhibitions without trouble, but they admitted that the setup clearly needed better safety rules. 12. A museum paid $84,000 for art and received 2 blank canvases. A few years ago, the Kunsten Museum in Denmark gave the artist Jens Hanning $84,000 to recreate 2 works that originally used real banknotes. When the package arrived, the staff opened it and found 2 blank canvases with a new title, Take the Money and Run. Hanning kept the cash and called it a commentary on how artists are paid. The museum wasn't thrilled, but they still hung the pieces as part of the exhibition. When the show closed, he was expected to return the money. He didn't. After a long court battle, the judge ruled in 2023 that he had to pay back most of the money. The amount was reduced to cover his artist fee and installation costs, bringing it down to about $70,000. In early 2024, both sides finally reached a settlement, and the museum ended up keeping Take the Money and Run as part of its permanent collection. No one has confirmed where the money actually went, but the museum now owns one of the strangest pieces it has ever commissioned. 11. A single lightning flash traveled 768 kilometers. The World Meteorological Organization confirmed 2 lightning records, showing how far a single flash can travel. One megaflash traveled over 700 kilometers during a storm over the southern US in April 2020. Now for scale, that is roughly the distance from New York City to Columbus, Ohio. Another flash over Uruguay and northern Argentina in June 2020 lasted 17.1 seconds from start to finish, making it the longest-lasting lightning event ever recorded. These megaflashes form inside massive storm systems, which explains why they grow to such extreme sizes. The team stressed that lightning travels farther than most people guess, and that thunder should always be treated as a warning. 10. An oak die-off in Illinois led to a terrible herbicide discovery. In 2017, landowners in southern Illinois started noticing that their oaks were twisting, curling, and dropping leaves in ways that didn't match any known disease. A retired state biologist suspected herbicide drift from the surrounding corn and soybean fields, and testing eventually backed that up. 90% of the samples came back positive for herbicides, and nearly every survey site showed signs of exposure. Some landowners have now lost multiple mature oaks, and new plantings show the same injuries within a season. Researchers say the damage could ripple through entire ecosystems, since oaks support hundreds of species and serve as key habitat in a landscape already reduced to fragments. 9. A French skier went so fast, he melted his skis. Let me just say, he earned a Guinness World Record while he was at it. Oh, and that it happened on sand. Maë Fredier is a former alpine skier from France, and after years of racing on snow, he decided to chase speed in a place where skis have no business being. He trained for months on dunes, then headed to Peru's Toromata to make a proper attempt at the Guinness World Record for sand skiing. On his September run, he hit 75 miles an hour, or 121 kilometers, which broke a record that had stood for more than 15 years. The friction was so intense that the base of one ski actually melted while he was still moving. He had to sit up and slow down before things got ugly. 8. Scientists revived 46,000-year-old worms. You know what? I'm starting to wonder if we should stop reviving things that froze before humans invented writing. We already brought back multiple ancient viruses, and now scientists have decided worms deserve a second chance too. Researchers working with samples from deep Siberian permafrost say they revived nematodes that have been frozen for about 46,000 years. Once thawed, the animals woke up, ate bacteria, and reproduced, which means they didn't just survive, they really bounced back. Their revivable secret lies in something called cryptobiosis, a state where metabolism drops so low that the organism looks dead but isn't. Until now, the longest recorded survival for a nematode in this state was only 39 years. 7. A man caught rabies from a transplanted kidney. A Michigan transplant patient died of rabies in 2025, despite never encountering any wild animals himself. Doctors later traced the infection back to the organ donor, who had been scratched by a skunk several weeks before his death. He developed confusion, trouble swallowing, and other classic rabies symptoms, yet his care team assumed they were tied to existing conditions. And, after he was declared brain dead, his organs went to recipients. When the transplant patient later developed tremors, weakness, and hydrophobia, the CDC tested him and confirmed rabies. A biopsy from the donor's remaining kidney also came back positive, closing the loop for investigators. This is only the 4th time rabies has been transmitted through an organ transplant in the US, and the odds of it happening remain extremely low. 6. A smart toilet can now identify you by your butt. A research team at Stanford built a prototype toilet that can identify users by what they politely call an anal print. The prototype uses cameras, sensors, and even a fingerprint reader on the flush handle to match samples to the right person. Once it knows who's sitting there, it checks everything, from flow patterns to stool shape, to catch possible health issues early. The anal print part grabbed the headlines, but the goal is to create a hands-off way to monitor chronic conditions without extra doctor visits. The first version already worked well enough for a pilot study, and the team said an upgraded model will be ready at some point in the future. Which I know is very vague, but hey, it is what it is. 5. Gray hair might be your body's own built-in cancer defense. Researchers in Japan found that when hair pigment stem cells take on too much DNA damage, they basically shut themselves down instead of risking a mutation that could turn cancerous. That shutdown means no more pigment, which is how the gray starts creeping in. The team tested this in mice by exposing their hair follicles to radiation and carcinogens. Radiation pushed the cells into a protective stand-down mode, which stopped pigment production, but also lowered cancer risk. Chemical carcinogens, however, bypassed that safety switch, letting damaged cells keep dividing. The hair stayed colored, but tumors followed. Scientists now want to see if human follicles behave the same way. 4. Most dogs still carry tiny bits of wolf DNA. A massive DNA study has confirmed that most dogs today still carry tiny pieces of wild wolf ancestry. Right, Kira? Scientists analyzed nearly 2,700 genomes from ancient wolves, ancient dogs, modern breeds, and village or basically street dogs. And they found small leftover chunks of wolf DNA in almost every type. In many cases, the mixing happened centuries ago, around 800 generations back. Even breeds you'd never expect to show traces of it. Chihuahuas, for example, carry a sliver of detectable wolf genes, while some large breeds like St. Bernards have none at all. The biggest surprise came from village dogs. Every single one they tested had wolf genes. Those dogs also tended to keep the wolf genes linked to smell, which might help them survive tougher conditions. 3. The first babies with DNA from 3 people are already here. A handful of babies in the UK have now been born with the DNA from 3 different people thanks to a new IVF technique designed to stop dangerous mitochondrial diseases from being passed down. The baby is still genetically the child of both parents. What doctors do is swap out the faulty mitochondria in the mother's egg for healthy ones from a donor. That tiny modification, about 37 genes out of thousands, keeps dangerous mitochondrial disorders from passing to the next generation. Regulators haven't revealed the exact number of births, and it's still early on, but the first results are promising. 2. Scientists reconstructed a Pink Floyd song from people's brainwaves. A team studying epilepsy patients found a new way to read the brain, and they used Pink Floyd for their test case. 30 volunteers listened to Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, while tiny grids of electrodes captured their brain activity in real time. An AI model learned the patterns tied to different parts of the song, then rebuilt a recognizable, slightly distorted version of it from those signals alone. It wasn't studio quality, but the tune and phrasing were unmistakable. The project was about understanding how the brain handles the music parts of speech, the things that give our voices emotion and character. They hoped that it could one day help restore natural sounding communication for people who can no longer speak. 1. There's an evolutionary reason some people struggle to throw things away. We all know someone who refuses to toss a single sock, a tower of old magazines, or a Tupperware lid that hasn't seen its matching container since Clinton was in office. Now, it's easy to call it laziness, but the roots go way further back. Our ancestors survived by saving anything that might help them get through the next storm, cold snap, or bad hunting season. That instinct didn't just disappear because we invented supermarkets. Stress or uncertainty still flicks the old save everything switch in our brains. Research shows people hang on to more stuff when life feels unstable, echoing those ancient survival patterns. So, if anyone gives you grief about your museum of almost functional chargers and old used gift wrapping paper and shoeboxes, remind them your inner cave dweller is thriving and that it's fully prepared for whatever winter it thinks is coming. And that is where I'm wrapping things up today. Now, I'm not sure what worries me more, the worms, the lighting, or the toilet that knows too much. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. You truly are the best. And if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button yet, well, consider this your gentle nudge. Also, let me know your favorite random fact in the comments below. And if you want to stick around for something fun, then go check out today's related video, 25 facts that'll make you feel instantly smarter. It covers everything from beds that get healthier when they're messy to eggshells helping grow human bone. It's a good one. That link should show up right about here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.